You are tuned into a special player spotlight interview on the CS Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible. I'm your host, Chris Sanderfeld, and joining the show now for a player spotlight interview is 2016 NFL Draft prospect. He's the defensive end out of Division II's Lindenwood University, Skyler Suggs. And Skyler is actually, he recently just made his way back from Toronto as his brother Scott Suggs was participating in the NBA D-League's All-Star Game, All-Star Weekend. And Skyler, we appreciate you taking some time this morning. How was your weekend, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on. And the weekend was great. It was amazing. I got to see one of the best dunk contests in history live. It was crazy. And my brother played really well. And he did well in the three-point contest, too. So, great weekend.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. I heard it was about -9, -10 degrees on Saturday. I think it rose up to maybe 8 or 9 degrees yesterday. But, yeah, it sounds like it was a great experience. And I got to think it makes it even much more better and sweeter to experience it while watching your brother participate in a few of those events. Obviously, seeing your brother go through some of these things that you're now going through as you're pursuing an NFL career, what advice has your brother given you? Obviously, basketball, football, two totally different things, the NBA, the NFL. But I got to think he was able to share some advice to you and with you. What was some of the things that he has said to you as you now pursue a professional playing career yourself?
Yeah, he's definitely been helping me along the way. I know the sport's different, but the processes are pretty similar. So, I've been talking with him about getting an agent and where and how do I know which one's the right one. And, he's been with me, and his agent has been helping me out as well. And just, telling me to stay patient and work hard. He was a guy who went undrafted, and but he's having success right now. And he just says to stay patient, keep working hard, and don't worry about how the chips fall. They're gonna fall how they're gonna fall. You can't control that, but you can control how hard you work. And when you get your shot, that you'll be 100% ready for it. So.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can only control, obviously, being on the field and now off the field as you gear up for your pro day. Those are really the only things you can control, especially throughout this NFL draft process. And looking a little bit looking at your playing career, Skyler, coming out of high school, you decided to attend Northern Iowa, where you were at for 2 years. Talk about how you were able to land at Northern Iowa, obviously the FCS, the D1AA. Talk about how you landed there and, what the entire recruiting process was like for you coming out of high school.
It was it's kind of a strange, different process for me. High school, my brother was top, 30 in the nation for basketball, so he had schools calling the house every 5 seconds. So he had a lot of guys recruiting him, and they started on me early. I know I took my first unofficial visit my sophomore year to Kansas State, and I had quite a few schools. Wyoming was looking at me. Washington, I took an official visit there. So a lot of different schools, but my grades were not where they should have been, and I was real close to being ineligible. So it was really important that I did get on the ACT, but I had to take it, I think, 5 or 6 times to get the score I needed, and I didn't get it until July because one of the schools had a power outage, and so I was able to. So all the ACT were done, but since that school had a power outage, I was able to take it at a later date there. And the only school who had held out a scholarship for me was Northern Iowa. So I attended there, and it was great. It was a great experience. I was able to meet, some great players and learn a lot of different things. Came in with David Johnson, L.J. Fort, Xavier Williams, a couple different NFL guys, and just kind of showed me how to be a Division I athlete, what it takes. But it was cold out there too. But I enjoyed my experience.
Yeah. It was cold there at Northern Iowa. Again, you spent 2 years there, and then you decided, you know what, let me go and get some nice weather. I'm going to enjoy myself for a little bit. You took the JUCO route. You went to Arizona Western Community College. Talk about that. I mean, here you are, playing D1, and then you go down to the JUCO route where many people don't know, but there's quite a bit of talent there at the JUCO level. We hear all the time about success stories coming from the JUCO level, guys taking the JUCO route, and now they land at bigger D1 schools or even FCS D2 schools. I mean, all over. Talk about your experience at the JUCO level and how different it was compared to your time at Northern Iowa.
Yep, it was definitely a different experience. So I left Northern Iowa, and immediately I got a call from Central Missouri, and they wanted me to come there. And at the time, I didn't want to play Division II. I wanted to go back up to Division I, and he knew a good junior college, Arizona Western, because I didn't really know anything about junior colleges. So he told them about me. I showed them my film, and they offered me a scholarship. So I attended Arizona Western. They were top 10 in the nation when I got there. I know when the coach called me, he was telling me, we got Alabama and Oregon and all kinds of guys coming to practice. So I was like, all right, great. And I got there, and I was shocked. I didn't know that there was going to be, so much talent there. And not just on my team, but on, a lot of the teams we played. At least one team had one or two guys that were monsters. But for us, we really had monsters at about 2 deep at least at every position. And it was one of the biggest changes, of course, was the heat. I remember my first day down there, I think it was like 123. So I was literally cooking. And then you don't have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The same things you have at Division I. They don't do your laundry for you. They don't give you gear. The locker room was pretty rusty. And so, you don't get...
They bring you back to reality, huh?
Yeah. So, basically like being back in high school, except a lot more talent, obviously. But,
right.
I got out there first day, and I felt I wanted to play tight end again. When I first went to Northern Iowa, I played some tight end at that first spring ball. And I just felt that I would have more success at tight end, so I tried that. Unfortunately, I was behind E.J. Bibbs, who plays for the Browns now, and Cameron Clear, who he was on the Steelers. I'm not sure where he's at now, but 2 NFL guys. So I wasn't seeing the field much. So my dad talked to me. He was like, "Yeah, go back to defensive end." And we had some injuries over there. Randy Gregory got hurt. A couple other guys. So I thought that was the best, so I switched over and immediately had success. In my first game, I had 1.5 sacks. I eventually became a starter, and I was able to meet some really talented guys. Unfortunately, I didn't get my AA degree while I was there in time, so that forfeited me the ability to play Division I. It was a new rule they had just implanted as soon as I got there. So then it led me to come back home and come to Lindenwood.
And yeah, now here you are. I mean, you spent the last 3 seasons there playing for the Lindenwood Lions. I want to focus on your 2014 season, your second year there at Lindenwood. I mean, it was obviously a career year for you, really throughout your entire collegiate experience there at defensive end. The stats are pretty impressive. I believe you led the team with not only tackles for loss but sacks as well, 10.5 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. Talk about the impact you had on the team that 2014 season and how that really it encouraged you this coming season as a senior. I mean, I got to think coming off of that big year as a junior, you really wanted to end your collegiate career with a bang with a senior year, and having a big junior season, I got to think it gives you a lot of confidence heading into this last collegiate season of yours.
Yeah, for sure. When my sophomore year was over, that was my first year I had transferred in, and I was a little slow to catch the playbook and my reads and my keys, and everything was just slower transitioning to a new college, and I had gotten hurt right before camp, missed most of camp, so I didn't get to as much as I wanted to. So coming into the 2014 season and seeing Pierre and what he had done, I was just ready, and I remotivated myself to get in that playbook more and to really give it all that I had to be the player that I knew I could be. So I hit the weight room hard. I finished my sophomore season, I think I was 225 pounds. And I played my junior season at about 250. And so I just put a lot of work in, and in the summer and the spring, and because I knew that I could be a very good player, and I could make my mark on this league. So I came in with that mindset, and I was able to. I started off the season actually a little slower than I wanted to, but when I hit my stride, I didn't look back. So I kept going. Was able to, like you said, lead the team in tackles for loss and sacks, and I believe I was top 10 in the conference in both areas. I got defensive big man of the year for the Lindenwood team, and honorable mention. I was a little hurt when they told me I got honorable mention. I felt I deserved at least third or second team, but with us having the record that we did, I guess it was tough for them to put my name up there. But I was happy with what I did. I felt I might have left a little bit of meat on the table that season, but coming into my senior year, I was really ready to tear up the league. Unfortunately, I started off well against Washburn. I had 2 sacks, forced fumble, I think 3 TFLs, 6 tackles. And going into the next game, we were playing Pitt State, who is, I think, ranked number 5 in the nation. And certainly, on I think the 7th play, our safety dove and took a bad angle and just tore my MCL. And that was basically it for my season. I tried to come back. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you talk about, you got off to a pretty solid start to the season, especially that first game of yours, as you already mentioned. 4 or 5 games into the season, you have some friendly fire occur, as you mentioned, and you tear your MCL. I mean, that's not the way anybody wants their collegiate career to end. Talk about exactly how disappointing that was when you first found out that your MCL was torn and that your season was likely over.
Yeah, it hurt, especially with it. It came in the second game, so right after me having a great game and my goals really seeming like they're right there in touch, within reach. For it to kind of be taken away from me, it did hurt. But I prayed about it, and I stayed strong and just kept rehabbing. Unfortunately, I was thinking that, hey, I'm just gonna miss 4 weeks, and I'll be right back to normal. But I tried to come back, I think at 4 weeks, and put this huge knee brace on, and I just couldn't. I couldn't run with it. I couldn't move. I couldn't cut. My knee wasn't all the way back yet. So it just didn't turn out how I wanted to. I ended up playing, I think, 3 or 4 more games, and then I had to just sit out the last 2 and shut it down because it just wasn't getting any better, and I wasn't able to do what I needed to.
Once again, we got Skyler Suggs, the defensive end out of Lindenwood University, here on the CS podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible, bringing you the names that you need to know first. Since 2002, visit NFLDraftBible.com. And Skyler, talk about a few weeks ago, you were able to participate in the Dream Bowl, all-star game filled with small school prospects, and you're obviously one of those who stood out in that game. Talk about that experience and what it was like to finish your collegiate career on top. Playing in an all-star game with some of the top small school talent in the country.
Yes, I was very excited to have that opportunity. I want to again thank the Dream Bowl and their foundation for even inviting me to the game after being injured. But I appreciate them having faith in me, and I knew that I could play. They brought us out to Virginia Beach, which was a beautiful place. If you haven't been there, I would suggest stopping by. I was able to room with my teammate, Jesse Scroggins, played quarterback, and I think we both played well. So I was able to meet some of the other prospects, some of the other guys, and there were some good players there. Especially, I could be biased, but I thought the defensive line, we were some of the best players there as far as Miles Grooms and Tanner Egan. The Crusaders had some really good guys too. Unfortunately, I didn't know their names as well, but there were some really really talented guys there, and I was happy to go out there and show that my knee was back. It was feeling great, and I was back to a player that I usually am, and I was able to perform well in the game. Was named the starter for the Patriots. I think came in tied for second in the team in tackles at 2.5. I had 1 sack, 1.5 QB hits. I was able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback and just kind of show my all-around game and chase some plays down. It was a fun and exciting experience. I loved it.
Absolutely. Great to hear. And you mentioned some of the talent that was also there at the Dream Bowl, fellow defensive lineman Tanner Egan from Michigan Tech. Just had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, tons of small school talent. They're represented at the Dream Bowl, including yourself and your quarterback, Jesse Scroggins, like you mentioned. What were some of the things heading into the Dream Bowl that you wanted to show off in front of scouts? I mean, was there anything that you had written down or in the back of your mind that you're like, man, I really want to prove to scouts that I could do this, or this on the field?
Yes, there's no doubt. I definitely wanted to, number one thing was to show that my knee was okay. It was just as good as ever. And then I also wanted to show that I have, NFL size. I know you can look at the roster, but you never know if those numbers are true or not. But I was able to come out as what I'm listed and show that I have great length. And I also want to show my quickness and explosion off the line, that I can pass rush against anybody, regardless of the level, and that I know how to use my hands, and that I can be a very productive football player. So I just really wanted to go out there and show them. If you haven't heard of me, I'm Skyler Suggs, and this is what I can do.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned your height and weight, and that you are officially what they have you listed at. Now, I'm not sure if that's the Dream Bowl roster or the Lindenwood roster, but I just want to confirm. I know the Lindenwood roster, LindenwoodLions.com, they have you listed at 6'4", 266. Is that correct?
Yep, I'm about 6'3.5", 270. Okay. So it's just about the same. But the Dream Bowl roster had me correct, I believe.
Okay, sounds good. Just wanted to confirm now. I'll let you go in just a few minutes, Skyler. I really do appreciate you taking some time this morning. What would you say for those who aren't too familiar with your game? Let's say this is their first time that they're hearing of Skyler Suggs from Lindenwood University, and you're able to point out one or two things a part of your game that you're like, hey, check this out. You'll see this if you'll see this if you put on the film. I mean, what would you say are a couple of things that stand out when watching film of Skyler Suggs?
Well, the first thing you're probably going to see is my length. I use that, try to always use that to my advantage, whether it's in the run or the pass. You'll see me constantly creating space from the offensive lineman or whoever's trying to block. You'll see aggression. I'm an aggressive player. I'm going to attack the ball carrier, whether he's 2 yards from me or 12. I'm going to find him. I'm going to chase him down. So I have a constant motor. You're going to want to watch my first step off the line. That's where I really take advantage, beating guys off the line, and my use of hands. I believe that's something that's not talked about as much that I do. And, yeah, just my ability to make plays. I believe I have a nose for the ball, and yeah, I like to go out there and make plays. You can check out my highlights on Huddle. Unfortunately, most of it's from my junior year. I do have one healthy game from my senior year that I think that people will be surprised when they watch the film.
Sounds good. And you know what? My next question, we may be able to see one of these plays on that film. Let's say 5-10 years from now, Skyler, looking back, what would you say is the most memorable play of your collegiate career, whether it was over at Northern Iowa, whether it was at the JUCO level over in Arizona, or over the last 2 or 3 years at Lindenwood? Looking back 5-10 years from now, what will be that first play that pops into your mind?
5-10 years. I don't know that I have a particular play, but I think I would have to say my game, my junior season against Central Missouri, who, like I had said, they called me when I had left Northern Iowa. But after I went to JUCO and found out I couldn't play Division I anymore, I called them back. And they didn't answer. I guess they didn't want any part of me anymore. So when we played them, I remember that I had one of my best games. I think I had 8 or 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and they counted me for 3.5 tackles for loss. But my teammate on the sideline was counting. He said he counted 7. So it was close. I thought it was at least 6. But I think that was one of my most dominant games. That's something that I'll always remember.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it was a dominant game. I mean, it sounds like you made them regret not answering that phone call a few years back. That's for sure. I'm sure they seen, they look, oh, number 91. Oh man, this guy still could have been on our team. So I'm sure they regretted not answering that phone call a few years back. Now, this is something that I like to end all of my interviews with. It's called the 2-minute drill. Some of these questions will be football related, and some will be random questions, just about anything. Again, he is Skyler Suggs, the 2016 NFL draft prospect, defensive end out of Lindenwood University. You ready to knock some of these out, Skyler?
Yep.
All right, we'll start off with favorite TV show and movie.
All right, favorite TV show is an old one, White Collar. And my favorite movie, Ooh, it's probably John Q.
Okay. Sounds good. Favorite meal? I mean, you're a defensive lineman. I gotta ask. I know you may not like to eat more than the offensive lineman, but I know you guys could. I know you guys could do some business at the dinner table as well. Favorite meal?
Yeah, we can certainly throw it down. I'm gonna have to go with a crispy buffalo chicken sandwich.
Oh man, you cannot go wrong.
All right.
Cannot go wrong with that. Who would you say you model your game after playing the defensive end position?
I would say early on I kind of mimicked it after Alden Smith, but now more days, more of Cameron Jordan, maybe with a little mix of Alden Smith.
Okay. Hey, two of the top defensive ends in the game, no doubt about that, so you cannot go wrong. Let's say you had a round-trip plane ticket to travel anywhere you wanted. Where are you headed?
I'm going to British Columbia in Canada, Summerlin, where my girlfriend lives, and she's been begging me to come out there someday. So.
All right, sounds good. British Columbia. Next question. Let's say you could lay a hit on any quarterback currently playing in the NFL. Who are you going to be hitting?
I'm going to have to hit Cam Newton. I like him, but I don't know. I want to tackle him.
All right. Well, I hate to do this to you, Skyler, but I'm going to save this, and I'll be sure to send it to Cam Newton as soon as you're signed by the Carolina Panthers, my friend.
Yeah, we might have to keep that to ourselves.
All right, and final question for you. Again, your time has been greatly appreciated. Let's say we got all 32 NFL general managers lined up. They're tuning into this very interview. Why should they want the defensive end out of Lindenwood University, Skyler Suggs, a part of their squad?
You're going to want me because I'm a guy who works hard, who hasn't really been given anything as far as football. I've had to work for it. I know how to compete at a high level. At Arizona Western is some of the deepest competition and toughest place. It really reminded me of an NFL training camp, how you had to really fight to get your spot. And the good guys were not playing because they didn't win out. So I know how to compete at a high level. I'm not a person who gives up. I can be productive at the next level. I have the size. I have the length. I have the determination. I know how to handle myself in a professional manner, as I've learned from my brother and others I know. And I'm not a guy who's going to be a distraction. The only distraction I might cause is having a couple of team Bible studies. And, I'm just a guy who you're going to want on your team, and you won't regret it.
I like it. Hey, Skyler, I really do appreciate you taking some time this morning. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and certainly wishing you all the best as you continue to gear up for the 2016 NFL Draft, man.
Hey, thank you, and thank you for having me on.